What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now today we have a comparison video between two of the most popular speed boots out on the market right now, and that is the Adidas F50 Elite and the Nike Superfly 10. Now it's always Nike versus Adidas, Vapor versus F50, and in this case the Superfly. The Vapor and the Superfly are the same boot, just that the Superfly has the mid-cut collar and the Vapor 16 is a low-cut model. So in today's video, we're just going to be comparing both these boots to try to help you decide which one to get, because these are both fantastic speed boots and you can't go wrong with either one. It just, depends on what you're looking for, depends on what kind of feel you want. Alright, so we'll just start off with the upper. Now the upper on the Adidas F50 is a fiber touch upper, and it's a synthetic material. It's nice and pliable and soft, you guys can see, and these are already like nice and broken in. In the beginning, I will say that they feel a little bit more plasticky and like more of a synthetic. But once you break them in, you start playing with them, they soften up really nicely. They become nice and pliable, and they're just a super soft material. It's kind of crazy how it changes. It isn't overly thin. I feel like this one just has a little bit more thickness to it compared to previous Adidas X models. It's not like super thick, but it feels like a knitted material almost. Like it's not super like thin. It's not paper thin like the Adidas X Crazy Fast Plus. That boot was very thin. This one has a little bit more thickness to it, but it feels really nice. I like it. You still get a nice touch on the ball. So this one does have more of an old school like synthetic vibe to it. So if you guys prefer that type of feel, you should really take a look at the Adidas F50. On the Superfly 10, we do have a grip knit upper. Now this is the same grip knit found on the Phantom GX2, and even though it is the same material, it feels a little bit different. This version of grip knit is a lot thinner. This grip knit has like 3 layers of it, and you can really feel that it is a lot thinner compared to the Phantom GX2 and the Adidas F50. It just has more of a barefoot touch on the ball, and there's like no padding to it whatsoever. And like any like knitted upper from Nike, it's very soft and sock like. Like you guys can see, I have broken these in really well, and it's nice and soft and pliable. I would say they're about the same in softness and pliability. Maybe this one just feels a little bit more sock-like, especially on feet. It does feel very sock-like. This one actually does have a transition point, and here we have a different material called Atom Knit. And here in this Atom Knit, it's supposed to be a little bit thinner, but it's still supposed to provide structure. You don't really feel this transition point, even though you guys can see the seam here. It's really seamless on the inside. It really isn't any transition point. You can't feel it whatsoever. But overall, this is a really great upper. Nike Grip Knit is such a good like technology from Nike, and it works really well. So the key feature from Nike Grip Knit is obviously the grip that it provides, and this one provides a good amount of grip. I will say it's not the same amount of grip found on the Nike Phantom GX2. That one just provides a lot more grip. This one has more of a waxy feel. You could really feel that there is some grip to it. But when you're dribbling, I feel like it doesn't really get stuck so much to your feet. Like you could still drag the ball, and it won't you won't trip over it. Like you do notice that you have more grip compared to the previous model. So if you like that sensation of grip, like it's gonna be a nice feel. And even if you don't like it, I feel like it's not so much that it should like turn you away from the boot. And I really like that they use Nike Grip Knit on this upper, and I really like that it's not the exact same thing found on the Nike Phantom GX2. It's like its own thing. It's a lot thinner. It's not as grippy. Now with the Adidas F50, you also get a little bit of grip called Sprint Web. You guys can see the name right there, Sprint Web. And you guys can see it's these like little like texture like lines on the upper. So here, and all basically here on the toe part of the upper. And this provides more of a rough texture, and it is noticeable when you're dribbling, and it feels really nice. I actually like it. Otherwise the boot would kind of feel slick on feet, I would say. So with either one of these boots, you're actually going to be getting some grip elements to the upper itself, which I feel like we haven't really seen from speed boots. I feel like they've always been pretty slick, but now they're kind of introducing it with the Superfly 10 and this Adidas F50. Alright, so in terms of the fit, I will say that the Adidas F50 has more of a neutral fit. It is a bit wider compared to the Superfly 10. So if you have a bit of a wider foot, I would recommend checking out the Adidas F50. This one has more of a like neutral fit all throughout. Even the toe box isn't super narrow. You guys can see it does have a good amount of width in the toe box and in the midfoot. The only problem is this compression fit tongue here that does kind of like hold your midfoot pretty tightly, and it does like wrap your foot really nicely. And this could be a problem if you have a super wide foot. I don't really have a problem with this. I actually like the way this feels, but you might find it to be kind of tight. The Superfly 10 fits like any Superfly or Vapor in the past. It is still a slimmer profile, but I found that it's the same like width in terms of the Vapor 15. So if you fit in those boots, you should be able to fit in these. And these actually feel a little bit more comfortable in terms of the width, just because this upper is so much softer and pliable, and there isn't really much structure holding the upper like very tightly. I just feel like this boot is a little bit more accommodating to wider foot types. You still get a narrow toe box, as you guys can see, but the midfoot, because of this upper and how pliable it is, you're just able to get a better fit in the midfoot if you do have a wider foot. So even if you do have a wider foot and you like that snug fit, you should be able to fit in these. But if you have a super wide foot, I would not recommend these. Alright, so in terms of performance, they perform pretty well. I really like both of them. I will say the Adidas F50 does give you a little bit more of a structured feel here in the midfoot, especially because of this compression fit tongue. I feel like this adds a little bit more structure, and it feels like it's just holding your midfoot a bit better compared to the Superfly 10. I feel like when you're cutting across very tightly, like you could really feel this compression fit tongue working, and like it does stretch a little, but it does have these fuse like overlays that doesn't allow it to like overstretch, so it is like holding your midfoot when you're cutting really tightly across. And so I feel like this performs really well. So if we're comparing it to the Superfly 10, like the lateral stability, I would say that the F50 is a bit better. On the Superfly 10, like I said before, we do have this adamant that is supposed to be thinner but still provide a good amount of structure. Like I found like when I cut across, like I feel like it held my foot well, but because this upper is very soft, I just felt like there's a little bit of like stretch or rollover from the upper, just slightly. Compared to the previous model, I feel like this one is less structured, and so you do feel it when you're cutting across. It's not terrible, but I feel like previous models have been better. But I feel like that's what you get when you have this super soft upper. And so for me, I actually don't mind that it is a little bit less structured just because this upper is super soft, and it's just a little bit more comfortable on feet. In terms of the heel, I actually found that both of them are really comfortable and excellent. The Adidas F50 has a good amount of padding here. You guys can see there is a little bit of this like dotted like pattern here, and you feel it a little bit in hand, but honestly it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't really grip your sock like more or less. Like I found like it's okay, but the padding here is a good amount, and I feel like it really does like a job of locking in your heel and making sure it doesn't like move up and down. So for me, the heel on the Adidas F50 is excellent. I really like it. The heel on the Superfly 10 is also really good. It has a good amount of padding all throughout, and it's just very comfortable. The heel cup on the inside, it kind of has a like piece here missing, so it's nice and flexible here in the back, so it's very comfortable when you wear it. There's no pressure points whatsoever, and so the heel cup kind of like cuts off here and then kind of goes back up here. So this is still very stable, but still very comfortable here in the back, which I really like. So for me, both heels are very comfortable. I didn't find any issues with them. No heel slippage. Alright, so moving on with the sole plates, this is where we see another like huge difference between both of them. And with the Adidas F50, we have a one-piece sole plate with an external heel counter, which I really like, and it feels pretty nice. It's not overly stiff, but it's not overly soft. It's a nice in between. You still get kind of like a snapback in the forefoot. Nothing compared to the previous model, but it still feels really nice. The stud pattern here, it isn't really super aggressive. You kind of have these bladed studs here in the front of the toe, and then here in the midfoot area we do have more of these conical studs with like the sides being more straight, and then in the heel we have these bladed studs. It's not a super aggressive layout, but Adidas I feel like really wanted to make sure that people were able to have multi-directional movement. So I feel like it's not really meant for like speed and like forward directional movement. I feel like it's just multi-directional movement, and it does that really well because of these like conical studs. You feel very safe. You're able to turn but still provide a good amount of bite. So if you guys want more of a neutral like stud pattern and like sole plate, I would just recommend the Adidas F50. With the Superfly 10, it's a very unique sole plate. So here we do have the Air Zoom unit in the forefoot, and this feels very unique. It's kind of difficult to describe, but it feels almost like a running shoe, but this time around it's a little bit firmer, and so it just feels a little bit more responsive, and you kind of feel it more evenly dispersed. So it feels really nice. Just because it is a bit firmer this time around, you kind of feel like you're being pushed off a little bit. It's not really like an energy boost or energy return. It's just like a sensation of just having like a push off, but obviously it's not going to make you run any faster. And here with the stud pattern, it's a very aggressive stud pattern with all these chevron studs, kind of long. And so if you're looking for the ultimate like traction, this is probably the best option in my opinion. So both of these boots are excellent options. Again, it just depends on what you're looking for. I feel like the Adidas F50 is a good all-around boot. I feel like this boot really accommodates well to almost every foot shape and to like everyone, just because like the sole plate is very neutral. The fit is also very neutral. It's not overly slim. Like the toe box is pretty wide here, and in the midfoot, I feel like there's a decent amount of width for people with a wider foot type. And so I feel like the Adidas F50 right now is kind of a good all-rounder boot. So I feel like with the Superfly 10, if you guys have worn like Vapors and Superflies in the past, you're gonna like this boot. I feel like this is a really nice soft upper, and it's just a little bit more comfortable compared to the previous model. And it's not as structured, but it's still really good. It still performs well. And this one does have a slimmer profile compared to the Adidas F50. But like I said before, because the upper is a little bit more pliable and softer, I feel like it still accommodates wider foot types, just as long as you don't have super wide feet. So let me know in the comments which one you're picking, the Adidas F50 or the Nike Superfly 10. For me, it's really hard to pick just because both of them are excellent boots. I really like the sole plate in the Superfly 10, but I really like the fit here in the Adidas F50. So it's kind of difficult to choose, but I feel like if I were to choose one right now to play with, I'll probably pick the Adidas F50. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you're notified for future videos. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.